Hey everybody, it's Eric from epautos.com, your libertarian car guy, and I may have found myself behind the same hypermiling Prius that you saw in the video that I posted a couple of days ago on exactly this same stretch of road. If you saw that video, you might be familiar with it, where I showed the speed limit sign, and I also showed my GPS calibrated speed of, and right now we're going 47 miles an hour, which is better than the 41 miles an hour that the hypermiling Clover was going before. Some people pointed out, by the way, and I've written about this, the fact that all these perfectly safe to pass zones are all double yellowed over. Notice that this is like, I don't know, half a mile straight, clear visibility, no reason whatsoever that this should be a no passing zone. But it is because of Clovers and Cloverism. And what I mean by that is, in order to execute a legal pass these days, you can't exceed the speed limit. So if I'm caught behind a Clover like this, who's doing 44, 45 miles an hour, in order for me to pass the Clover legally, I can't go faster than the posted speed limit, which means I need about a mile of open space to get around the guy. If I execute a safe pass, exceeding the speed limit, then I'm vulnerable for a ticket. Now we're going to come up to another straight section up here where you'll see it would be perfectly safe to pass, but it's illegal to pass. Same thing, the double yellow line extends for a good half mile or more without any legitimate reason if we were permitted, I hate using Clover language, to execute safe passing maneuvers, which means actually standing on the gas. You might remember the passing gear. Car companies used to tout the passing gear back in the day to get around the Clovers. Now look at this straight section of road. Good visibility, no reason whatsoever not to execute a pass, and that is why I'm going to pass the Clover. Goodbye, Clover. See you later, Clover. And I guess it's the same Clover, and we'll see if he flashes his lights at me again. He probably remembers me. But this time he didn't flash his lights at me. Anyway, I'm glad that I passed the Clover, because now we are coming to one of the very few lawful passing zones, and those of you who enjoy probability theory will probably agree with me that it's almost inevitable that when you come to one of the few remaining lawful passing zones, usually there's another car coming. So you've got this tiny, tiny little open stretch here of, I don't know, a couple hundred yards, maybe not even. And actually this stretch of road, now that I look at it, is less than the last stretch of road that I just passed the Clover on, where it would have been safer to pass the Clover in terms of visibility. You know, here you've got this little knoll hill. You probably can't tell from the perspective of this video, but you can't see whether traffic is coming on the other side of the hill. So unless you pass pretty quickly, which would be illegal for safety, or illegal anyway, you're screwed. You're caught behind the Clover. So, anyway, I think it was pretty hilariously coincidental, or ominously coincidental. Sometimes I think we do live in the Matrix, and because what are the chances of my encountering the same Clover, the same guy, on the same stretch of road where I passed him and then had to pass him again for the same reason, I guess 3 or 4 days after the first pass? I don't know. Clover and I are doing some kind of a weird little tango now. At any rate, more up at epautos.com, the web's best libertarian gearhead site. I also just posted an article that you might find of interest about a sensible electric car. I often get accused unfairly of hating on the electric car, and it's really not the electric car that I hate, even though I'm not a big fan of them. It's the grotesque crony capitalism, rent seeking, the mandates, the subsidies, all of that that have paradoxically resulted in electric cars that make absolutely no sense from any kind of an economic or practical point of view, being pretty much the only electric cars that are available. Well, there's a contrast to that. In France, you can get a little Citroën electric car for $6,000. Okay, now $6,000 versus $30,000, which is the least you'll spend to get an electric car, a new electric car in the United States. And you're probably asking why, and the reason is that the little Citroën, it's called the Ami, does not try to do the things that an electric car is congenitally unsuited for, which is long distance driving. It's a city car only. It's not, makes no pretense of being a road trip car, a primary car, unless you live in the city. It's designed for urban and even some suburban A to B back and forthing at low speeds. Has a top speed of about 30 miles an hour. Goes about 40 miles on a charge, but that's fine if you're just puttering around in a city or even around your suburban neighborhood and you don't need to go on the highway. Makes a great choice for older people or just people who don't need to go farther, or for young people. I can remember when I was fresh out of college, you know, you're living fairly close to work, you're living in an urban area, $6,000 for a brand new car. And by the way, you can lease this thing in Europe, in countries like France, for about $22 a month. And what is that? That's the cost of a Hulu subscription, right? It's less than the cost of a tank of gas, one tank of gas, to have a car, not a scooter, not a moped. In fact, a car that's superior to that idiotic smart car that used to be sold here that cost about 30 grand, which wasn't an electric car, by the way. But at any rate, it's superior because it can carry passengers, it can carry stuff, and it costs less than a new motorcycle and a lot less than a used internal combustion powered car. So it makes all kind of sense, and that's probably why we don't have it. Anyway, there's an article up on the site about that. I hope you'll stop by and take a look and read. And as always, thanks for listening, thanks for viewing, and we'll catch up with you again soon.